All right, so hopefully you should be able to see my screen now. I promise I'll keep the PowerPoint portion of this short and sweet, and we'll get to the good stuff where we're actually working with scripting in Control X pretty quickly. But first, I just need to take a minute to talk about where scripting fits in with the Control X automation suite of tools. We'll recap the history a little bit of the Python scripting releases we've had over the past year, and we'll take a look at some of the current and the near-term projects we're working on to make scripting even more useful to our users. So um, when we released text scripting for general availability in December of 2024, it joined a host of other automation methods in Control X. Um, Visual scripting, which was released in 2020, was probably the most capable of those. And visual scripting and textual scripting both have a common architecture within the command structure of Control X, which makes updating both of those together pretty straightforward going into the future as we need to add more commands and explore more functionality. But just as a reminder, if you didn't see our release webinar or the documentation that we put out at the time, we pushed to add Python to Control X in addition to visual scripting after collecting, a few years of feedback from our customers and our partners that were complaining that the closed ecosystem that kind of is inherent to visual scripting, since it's kind of its own thing, made visual scripting a lot harder to learn and wasn't really easily extensible beyond the Control X and visual scripting environment. Because Python is a universal and really accessible language with tons of documentation, lots of training resources, and countless third-party libraries that are available, it was always going to be a better solution for a bigger subset of our users, especially as the complexity of the tasks that they were trying to do was increasing. So last year we produced a YouTube video explaining the various automation methods in Control X from the rebuild system or replace measure data function through scan and batch processing, the automation server and client application, and finally visual and text scripting, kind of just showing how they all interact. And it covers a bit more of, in a bit more detail, each one of those functions. And if you haven't seen that video yet, it's great. We'll include the link with this presentation that we include when we send you the recording for this webinar at the end of this. So as a quick refresher, in 2025.0, last December, we added a number of new commands to the ribbon in the automation tab to support the text scripting function. So this is where you can find the open and run script commands, start and stop macro recording, and open the script editor. So very, very similar to how visual scripting was already laid out. When you open up the script editor, that panel is broken up into 4 components. The script library shows recent scripts that you've worked on. The console contains drop-down menus for file management and a link to the API documentation, as well as the text editor, obviously, for the active script. IntelliSense, obviously, here is active for more efficient coding, and multiple scripts can be opened in separate tabs, which is helpful for debugging. Down below, you can find the error list and the output window. So leading up to our first release, which was almost a year ago today, we had 2 rounds of beta testing with internal users, partners, and a select group of customers. We released basic macro recording and playback and scripting coverage for about 50% of Control X functions. We've watched the text scripting usage ramp up pretty considerably through the past year through the anonymous usage statistics that we collect if you opt in, and the tech support cases that we've been receiving as well. So in the March hotfix, we addressed a couple of minor bugs, and then we got to work on phase 2, which we just released last month in Control X 2025.1. So I hope everybody on the call has had some time to try out the new functionality that we've added. From a scripting perspective, that included upgrading the version of Python that's installed with Control X, multi-face selection in the GD&T commands, sub-selection of mesh and point cloud data, either using a box or a cylinder from the select by geometry command. There's a new helper function to return the name of the most recently created object in the model manager. There's a automatic script generation during macro recording. So previously, if you're recording a macro, the macro would just kind of appear after you clicked stop recording. Now the individual script items appear as soon as you exit the command, so it's a little bit easier to see what's going on. There's some new functions that we're supporting as well, and a lot of bug fixing to improve the stability of the scripting platform that we also just released. And of course, we're not going to stop there either. Our team's already hard at work on the next version of CX, which I think we're going to release around February or March, so sometime in Q1, where we're going to add even more options for manual selection. So have the script pause and wait for the user to select an object. We're going to expose some of the visibility commands and the viewpoint commands, and actually have some basic control over the pairing manager as well. And then we've already completed some work expanding the coverage of the commands. So we're going to add note, the note command, transform body command, and offset mesh command. Those are already done actually. And what's really cool is we've started using scripting in Control X internally to really ramp up the amount of kind of automated testing of GD&T that we do. So there is within Hexagon a huge library, about 10 times more test cases of different geometries and different things that they've provided to us. So we've basically, upped by an order of magnitude the amount of GD&T tests that we can do in a release cycle. So you should see some robustness come from that as well. After the next release, again, 6-month release cycle, so sometime in Q3 probably, we're going to look at exposing some more functionality to scripting, including report template editing and the mesh and point cloud kernel. In addition to those efforts, and obviously to facilitate some really improved cycle time, the next big project we want to pursue is updating some of Control X's graphics core so it can allow for headless operation, which basically means that there is no graphics, and Control X just doesn't take the couple seconds to launch that it usually does into a new instance and just processes the data in the background. So that'll make things go much quicker. So I hope everybody found all of that so far interesting, informative, and we can conclude the PowerPoint portion now and move right along to the demonstrations of some of the workflows that we've been playing around with lately using Control X's Python scripting functions. So again, I'm pleased to be joined by Benny Rapp and Matthew Gibson from our support team in the US here, who also happen to have some proficiency with Python, and they're excited to share a couple of their recent projects with us. So up first is Benny, who's going to show us a reasonably short script that he wrote to interface with a barcode reader. So Benny, go ahead.